Hello guys, how are things with you? And what's up guys? So it's me Ranju here and from Green IAS. So our chapter is here, the second chapter, that is Federalism of Class 10 Polity of NCERT textbook. So its summary is here. So let's start guys. So federalism. So friends, first of all, we can study about what is federalism. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between central authority and various constituent units of the country. So, federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. And a federalism has, or a federation has, levels of government. Okay, levels of governments are there in federation. One is the government for the entire country, that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. So friends, we are studying about the federalism. So different levels of governments are there in this, and usually the first government, that is usually referred to as central government, that is responsible for subjects like the common national subjects of common national interest. Others are the government at the provinces or state level that look after much of the day-to-day administrating of the state. Both these levels of governments enjoy their power independent of the other. So friends, first we have said about the central government, in which there are subjects of common national interest, and the second comes the provinces or state level government, in which the day-to-day administration is there, and both these levels of governments enjoy the power independent of the other. So they are working in an independent manner. The central government can pass orders to the provincial or the local government, but in a federal system the central government cannot order the state government to do something. So friends, usually the central government can pass orders to the state or local government, but in a federal system this cannot be happen, because in a federal system the central government cannot order the state government to do something. The state government has powers of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. So in a federal system the state government can take its own movements, and it is not answerable to the central government. Both of these governments are separately answerable to the people. So in this system the governments are separately answerable to the people. Then the key features of federalism. What are the key features of federalism? There are 21 more levels of or more tiers of governments are in federalism. So in federalism there are 21 more levels of governments. Different tiers of government govern some citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction. So friends, it is saying that different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction. So we know in India all people are there living in an equal with the equal rights, and they are same citizens with the same values, but they have the each tier of that the government have their own its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, administration, etc. So we have said that there are more than 21 levels of tiers of governments are there in federalism. Even though same citizens are there is they have its own jurisdiction in specific matters like legislation, taxation, and administration. The jurisdiction of respective levels of government are specified in the constitution. The existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. So friends, in our constitution the jurisdiction type government is specified, and the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. The fundamental provisions of the institution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. So, the main fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of government. Okay, usually it is referred to as state government and central government. So, the both say state and central government have the power to change the fundamental provisions of the constitution by both. Okay, they can itself change. They can't itself change the constitution, but they can both can change some of the fundamental provisions of the constitution. The courts have the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of the different levels of the government. So the court is also has the responsibility or the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of government. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise between different levels of government in the exercise of their respective powers. So sometimes there are some of the conflicts or disputes may be taking place between these governments, so that the high court, the supreme courts have to intervene in these levels of governments. Sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. So there are certain sources of revenue for each level of government, and these revenues are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. Thus, the federal system has dual objectives: to safeguard and promote unity of the country while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. So, some of the objectives of federal system include to safeguard and promote unity of the country while at the same time accommodating the regional diversity. An ideal federal system has both aspects. Okay, an ideal federal system has both aspects, which include mutual trust and agreement to live together. Mutual trust and agreement to live together. Then the formation. Okay, the formation of federations. There are two kinds of routes through which the federations can be formed. Have been formed. Okay, there are two kinds of routes through which federations have been formed. First route involves independent states coming together and their own to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity they can increase their security. This type of coming together federations include USA, Switzerland, Australia. So friends, we are now studying about the formation of federations. So in mainly in two routes the federations can be formed. The first route mainly include the coming together federations, and the second one is holding together federations. So first we can discuss what is the coming together federations, and this coming together federations usually include in USA, Switzerland, Australia like countries. And the first, so listen, for the first route involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit. So independent states coming together and forming a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity they can increase their security. This type of coming together federation is the first route through which the formation of federations can take place. Then in this category of federation, all the constituent states have equal power and are strong. So in this type of coming together federations, all the constituent states have equal power and are strong. Then comes the holding together federations. In the second route, a large country decides to divide its power between the constituent states and the national government. India, Spain, and Belgium are examples of this kind of holding together federations. So, friends, in the second route of formation of federation, a large a large country which decides to divide its power between the constituent states. Okay, so this type of holding together federation is in national government like India, Spain, Belgium, etc. Then, what makes India a federal country? So, what makes India a federal country? Constitution declared India as a union of states. So our constitution has declared our India as a union of states. Although it did not use the word federation, the Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. So constitution declared our India as a union of states, but the word federation is not used here, but instead the Indian, it is saying that Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. The constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers between union and state governments. It contains three lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. So friends, listen. Constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers between union and states. So our constitution has provided a threefold distribution of legislative power among the union list, state list, and concurrent list. So let's detailedly explain what are these list and which are the terms included in this list. So first is the union list. In union list, some of the subjects of like national importance are included, like defense, foreign affairs, banking, communication, and currency, and they are included. The union list is included because we need a uniform policy on these matters throughout the country. So friends, I have said that subjects of national importance are included in union list, which include defense, foreign affairs, banking, communication, and currency, etc. These subjects are included in union list because we need a uniform policy on these matters throughout the country. So in matters of banking, foreign affairs, defense, currency, we are taking a uniform policy throughout the country. That is why these subjects are involved in this union list. The union government alone can make decisions here. So in the union list, the union government can alone make decisions here. Then comes the second is state list. The subjects of state and local importance are involved in state list. Okay, the subjects of state and local importance are included in the state list. The police, trade, commerce, agriculture, irrigation are usually involved in this. Okay, the subjects mainly involved in state list are police, trade, commerce, agriculture, irrigation, etc. The state governments alone can make laws here. So in the state list, the state government alone can make laws here. Then comes the third, concurrent list. Okay. So in concurrent list, subjects of common interest of both the union and state governments is here. So in the union list, subjects of union matters is involved, and in the state list, subjects of local or state is involved, and in concurrent list, subjects of common interest of both the union and state government is involved, like education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption, succession, etc. Both union and state can make laws here in concurrent list. So in concurrent list, both the union and state can make laws. If their laws conflict with each other, the law made by union government will prevail. Okay, if the if the laws mm, if the if there is a conflict between the state and union in the matters of laws, the law made by union government will prevail. Then the most federations that formed by the holding together do not give equal power to its constituent units. So some of the federations are formed by the holding together system. So that this do not give equal power to its constituent units. But in the case of coming together federations, it give equal power to all. Thus, all states in Indian Union do not have identical powers. So, uh, so due to the existence of holding together federations, all the states in Indian Union do not have identical powers. The union territories do not have the powers of a state, central government, state. Okay, union territories do not have the powers of the state, but instead the central government has special powers in running these union territories. So central government has the main power in running these union territories, and the state government is have no power. Then comes how is federalism practiced? Okay, how is federalism practiced? The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic policies in our country. So, for the success of federalism in India, the nature of democratic policies has a important role. Okay. Then the linguistic states. Okay, next portion is the linguistic states. In 1947, the boundaries of several old states of India were changed in order to create new states. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in in the same state. So in 1947, some of the changes took place. That is the division of states based on the language the people spoken. The formation of linguistic states has actually made the country more united. It has also made administration easier. So due to this language based division of states made the administration more easier, and it also made the country more united. Then comes the language policy. Hindi is the mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages as per the constitution. So as per the constitution, there are only 22 scheduled languages are there, in which the 40% of people in India are speaking Hindi. According to our constitution, the use of English for official purposes was to stop in 1965. So till 1965, the English was used as official language, and after that it is stopped. This practice was stopped. Then comes the center and state relations. For a long time, the same party ruled both at the center and in most of the states. When the ruling party of the state level was different, the parties that ruled at the center tried to undermine the power of the state. Okay, so for a long time, the same party ruled both at the center and most of the states. When the ruling party of the state level was different, the parties that ruled at the center tried to undermine the power of the state. So, for friends, it is saying that for a long time, there was a same party which ruled both center and most of the states, but and after that, sometimes the government of certain states was taken by different parties. At that times, the center government tried to undermine their power of that states. The coalition governments arose after the rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. So the coalition governments are there, which are arose after the rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. So that due to some of the instabilities and powerlessness of some certain ruling parties, there were emergence of certain regional political parties from the people, so that this led to the formation of coalition governments. And there are friends, there are scheduled languages and non-scheduled languages are there. The mainly 22 scheduled languages are in India. Hindi is the mother tongue of 44% of Indians. So Hindi is the mostly spoken language in India, and which accounts for 44% of Indians. And in the case of English, 0.02% of Indians treated English as their mother tongue. Then comes the decentralization in India. In terms of population, Uttar Pradesh is bigger than Russia. Okay, in terms of population, Uttar Pradesh is bigger than Russia. Third tier of government is also called local government. When power is taken away from central and state government and given to local government, it is called decentralization. So friends, we have heard about the centralization and the decentralization. So here we are discussing about decentralization. So what is mean by decentralization? When power is taken away from the central and the state governments and given to local government, then it is called decentralization. At the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making. So after the decentralization, the people can actively participate in decision making. This helps to inculcate a habit of democratic participation. And an independent institution also called the State Election Commission. So State Election Commission, an independent institution, and that has been created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. Then state governments are required to share some powers and revenue with the local government bodies. The nature of sharing varies from state to state. So the state governments are required to share some powers and revenue with the local government bodies. The nature of sharing varies from state to state. The rural local government is popularly known by the name Panchayati Raj. Okay, the rural local government is popularly known by the name Panchayati Raj. Each village or a group of villages in some states has a Gram Panchayat. This is a council consisting of ward members, often called Panch, and a president or Sarpanch. And directly, this president is directly elected by the adult population living in that ward or village. It is the decision making body for the entire village. So friends, for an entire village, some of the village, the panchayat has the power for the decision making, and the panchayat works under the overall supervision of Gram Sabha. All the voters in village are its members. So all the voters in village are its members. It has to meet at least twice and thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Gram Panchayat and to overview the performance of the Gram Panchayat. So the Gram Sabha has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Gram Panchayat and to overview the performance of the Gram Panchayat. A few Gram Panchayat are grouped together to form a Panchayat Samiti or block. So, a few Gram Panchayat are grouped together to form a Panchayat Samiti or block. The members of this body are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. So, the members of this body, this Panchayat Samiti are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. This Panchayat Samiti is also known as block. So the members of block are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. All the block in a district together called or constituting Silla or district Parishad. Okay friends, all the block in a district together constitute Silla Parishad or district. Silla Parishad chairperson is the political head of Silla Parishad. So there may be there is Silla Parishad chairperson who is the head of Silla Parishad, political head of Silla Parishad. Members of Lok Sabha and MLAs of that district, some officials are the members of Silla Parishad. So who are the members of Silla Parishad? The Lok Sabha and the members of Lok Sabha, the MLAs of the district, some officials are members of Silla Parishad. The municipalities are set up in towns, big cities. So friends, it is saying that the municipalities are set up in towns and there is also municipal corporations. The big cities are constituted into municipal corporations. Municipal chairperson is the political head of municipality. So municipal chairperson is the political head of municipality. In a municipal corporation, such an officer called mayor. So in a municipal corporation, its political head is mayor. Both the municipalities and municipal corporations are controlled by elected bodies consisting of people's representatives. Okay, both the municipalities and the municipal corporations are controlled by the elected bodies consisting of people's representative. So friends, it's all about our second chapter. So study well guys, study smartly and hardly, then only you can achieve the higher destinations. Okay, have a nice day guys, keep going.